And we are live.
We hope.
Good point. Yeah, it still only shows 0, so maybe we should wait till we
Yeah,
actually see some. We
yeah.
know there
I'm
should
waiting
be
to.
some viewers based on all the comments.
Well, I'm waiting to see it pop up on mine just to be on the safe side. There
6
it goes.
viewers. There we go.
Okay, yay, we are live. Um, Hello, welcome to Friday, the day before my birthday. Shout out to Nettles. It is her birthday. We of course will not ask how old she is. That's not something you do. But I will be turning 53 tomorrow. Um, A shout out to Lizzie. I got presents yesterday. Seeing as I'm such a Jamie Lannister stan, I got the House Lannister banner. Um, I got Targaryen House banner.
Nice.
I got the Night's Watch banner. And Chris, the Crow, who was the Dark Knight Watchman at the uh, masquerade ball, got a hoodie that says "The Dark," Batman mask, and Night's Watch from Lizzie.
Cool.
So shout out Lizzie, thank you very very much.
Wow.
I appreciate it. Shot now, the origin of Old New Dude. It was this is back when PlayStation first came out, and Christopher Crow was quite a bit younger. Um, that was either my first or second username because I thought I was being smart because I was a bit old, I thought, to be playing video games. And when they came up with the channel, I'm like, hell, I am old now, definitely to be starting a YouTube channel. So I brought the user tag Old New Dude back to life, just for the channel. It just, I mean, uh, I, I thought it was funny. So that's the
Yeah.
origin of the
Cool.
old new dude. But we
And
are here.
Sanji's here. Sir Dave is here. Lizzie's here. We already had a bunch from. We had Charles and
Shot
Shotmill and
now.
Chris
Yep.
all earlier.
Yep. We appreciate it. This is Clash of Kings Brand 6. And I mean, we're up to 7 people, so it's pretty good for us. We appreciate everybody coming. Me and Richard know that eventually it will be millions.
Oh, of
Um,
course.
yeah, yeah. Was it Confucius say every journey starts with one step? Well,
Single step, sure.
we're doing our one steps now. So
That sounds
if
good.
you've seen any of these, and everyone here has, we start with the brains of the operation, which is Richard. He will say what he saw in the chapter, and then I will jump in with my stupid stuff. Because if Richard was not here, this would be about a 5-minute video of me rambling and would be incoherent to everybody. So I appreciate Richard being here. So take it away, man.
If people want to know what old dude's videos are like without me, there's definitely plenty out there. There's in fact, I joined in on what would have been chapter 6 after the prologue of A Game of Thrones. So he actually did. Old dude actually did make videos for the first half a dozen chapters before that. So
Yep, they sucked.
love those banners. All right. The sound was the faintest of clinks, a scraping of steel over stone. He lifted his head from his paws, listening, sniffing at the night. The evening's rain had woken 100 sleeping spells and made them ripe and strong again. Grass and thorns, blackberries broken on the ground, mud, worms, rotting leaves, a rat creeping through the bush. He caught the shaggy black scent of his brother's coat and the sharp coppery tang of blood from the squirrel he'd killed. Other squirrels moved through the branches above, smelling of wet fur and fear, their little claws scratching at the bark. The noise had sounded something like that. And he heard it
Quick
again.
thing. Um,
Yep.
Even in the wolf, he still remembers what Shaggy Dog's name is. For the exact word Shaggy to be in
Right.
a description, it's Bran remembering. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Or at least associates him with the word. Yeah.
yeah.
And he heard it again. Clink and scrape. It brought him to his feet. His ears pricked and his tail rose. He howled a long, deep, shivery cry, a howl to wake the sleepers. But the piles of man rock were dark and dead. A still wet night, a night to drive men into their holes. The rain had stopped, but the men still hid from the damp, huddled by the fires in their caves of piled stone. So the howl that wakes the sleepers. His brother came sliding through the trees, moving almost as quiet as another brother he remembered dimly from long ago, the white one with the eyes of blood. Of course, the quiet wolf could tie John to Ned, right?
Another thing, the howl that wakes the sleepers, it
Mm-hmm.
might indicate that it has to be a start that blows the horn of winter, or one
Okay.
of Stark blood.
Although that's certainly not the only problem with the horn that John already blew, right?
Right. Well, I
It
mean,
probably
like we
has to
said,
also be
yeah,
at a
yeah,
certain location or something.
right. Well, like we said, though, John blew the horn, and the dead came. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but also they were north of the wall. The wall stops magic. So, I mean, it might need to be
Blown at the
blown
wall from the
at,
south of the wall.
yeah,
Sure,
at Winterfell, something like that.
sure. This brother's eyes were pools of shadow, but the fur on the back of his neck was bristling. He'd heard the sounds as well and known they meant danger. This time the clink and scrape were followed by a slithering and the soft, swift patter of skin feet on stone. The wind brought the faintest whiff of a man smell he did not know. Stranger, danger, death. He ran toward the sound, his brother racing beside him. The stone dens rose before them, walls slick and wet. He bared his teeth, but the man rock took no notice. A gate loomed up, a black iron snake coiled tight about bar and post. When he crashed against it, the gate shuddered, and the snake clanked and slithered and held. Through the bars, he could look down the long stone burrow that ran between the walls to the stony field beyond, but there was no way through. He could force his muzzle between the bars, but no more. Many a time his brother had tried to crack the black bones of the gate between his teeth, but they would not break. They had tried to dig under, but there were great flat stones beneath, half covered by earth and blown leaves. And of course, the snake is a chain, so the gate's been chained.
Yeah.
Snarling, he paced back and forth in front of the gate, then threw himself at it once more. It moved a little and slammed him back. Locked, something whispered. Chained. The voice he did not hear, the scent without a smell. The other ways were closed as well. Where doors opened in the walls of Manrock, the wood was thick and strong. There was no way out. There is, the whisper came, and it seemed as if he could see the shadow of a great tree covered in needles, slanting up out of the black earth to 10 times the height of a man. Yet when he looked about, it was not there. The other side of the godswood. The sentinel. Hurry, hurry. Through the gloom of night came a muffled shout, cut short. Swiftly, swiftly, he whirled and bounded back into the trees, wet leaves rustling beneath his paws, branches whipping at him as he rushed past. He could hear his brother following close. They plunged under the heart tree and around the cold pool, through the blackberry bushes, under a tangle of oaks and ash and hawthorn scrub, to the far side of the wood. And there it was, the shadow he glimpsed without seeing, slanting tree pointing at the rooftops. Sentinel, came the thought. Notice that he pairs a tangle of oaks and ash. The oak tree would be a lot means the oak tree, and a lot is also translates to DNA, and of course ash. So anyway,
Yeah.
Those are the two trees most often associated with the weirwoods, other than the weirwoods themselves. He remembered how it was to climb it then. The needles everywhere scratching at his bare face and falling down the back of his neck, the sticky sap on his hands, the sharp piney smell of it. It was an easy tree for a boy to climb, leaning as it did, crooked, the branches so close together they almost made a ladder, slanting right up to the roof. Growling, he sniffed around the base of the tree, lifted a leg and marked it with a stream of urine. A low branch brushed his face, and he snapped at it, twisting and pulling until the wood cracked and tore. His mouth was full of needles and the bitter taste of sap. He shook his head and snarled. His brother sat back on his haunches and lifted his voice in an ululating howl. That's the same sound that Mary Mastor makes.
Yeah. Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I couldn't say it when it was Mary Mastor either. His song Blackwood Morning. The way was no way. The way was no way. They were not squirrels, nor the cubs of men. They could not wriggle up the trunks of trees, clinging with soft pink paws and clumsy feet. They were runners, hunters, prowlers. So it's one thing that's kind of strange about that is that it's true dogs aren't very good at climbing trees, but bears are, and bears and dogs are genetically almost identical. In fact, when they were mapping the ancient cave bears DNA, they found some gaps, and they said
Hmm.
that's okay. We can just fill it in with dog because dog's the same as bears. And I'm like, what?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Also,
um,
the word that you had a hard time pronouncing. Um,
ululating. Yeah,
yeah. I think it's odd that that word connects Shaggy Dog to Miramax. Um, why I don't know. Magic involved. It's
yeah. Does
hard
that
to say.
does that foreshadow Shaggy being sacrificed somehow? I don't know. That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Off across the night, beyond the stone that hemmed them close, the dogs woke and began to bark. One and then another, and then all of them. A great clamor. They smelled it too, the scent of foes and fear. A desperate fury filled him, hot as hunger. He sprang away from the wall, loped off beneath the trees, the shadows of branch and leaf dappling his gray fur. Then he turned and raced back in a rush. His feet flew, kicking up wet leaves and pine needles, and for a little time he was a hunter, and an antlered stag was fleeing before him, and he could see it, smell it, and he ran full out in pursuit. The smell of fear made his heart thunder, and slaver ran from his jaws, and he reached the falling tree in stride and threw himself up the trunk, claws scrabbling at the bark for purchase. Upward he bounded, up, 2 bounds, three, hardly slowing until he was among the lower limbs. Branches tangled his feet and whipped at his eyes. Gray-green needles scattered as he shouldered through them, snapping. He had to slow. Something snagged at his foot and he wrenched it free, snarling. The trunk narrowed under him, the slope steeper, almost straight up and wet. The bark tore like skin when he tried to claw at it. He was a third of the way up, halfway, more. The roof was almost within reach. And then he put down a foot and felt it slip off the curve of wet wood, and suddenly he was sliding, stumbling. He yelled in fear and fury, falling, and twisted around while the ground rushed up to break him. George always has the ground rush up when you fall.
Yeah.
And then Bran was back abed in his lonely tower room, tangled in his blankets, his breath coming hard. Summer, he cried aloud, summer! His shoulder seemed to ache as if he had fallen on it, but he knew it was only the ghost of what the wolf was feeling. Jojen told it true. I am a beastling. Outside, he could hear the faint barking of dogs. The sea has come. It's flowing over the walls, just as Jojen saw. Bran grabbed the bar overhead and pulled himself up, shouting for help. No one came, and after a moment, he remembered that no one would. They had taken the guard off his door. Sir Roderick had needed every man of fighting age he could lay his hands on, so Winterfell had been left with only a token garrison. The rest had left 8 days past, 600 men from Winterfell and the nearest holdfasts. Clay Kerwin was bringing 300 more to join them on the march. And Maester Luwin had sent ravens before them, summoning levies from White Harbor and the Barrowlands and even the deep places inside the Wolf's Wood. Torrhen Square was under attack by some monstrous war chief named Dagmer Cleftjaw. Old Nan said he couldn't be killed, and once a foe had cut his head in two with an axe. But Dagmer was so fierce he just pushed the two halves back together and held them until they healed up. What is dead may never die. Anyway, could Dagmer have won? Torrhen Square was many days from Winterfell, yet still, could Dagmer have won? Yeah, strangely, even though he doesn't think he can, he can. Bran pulled himself into bed, moving bar to bar until he reached the windows. His fingers fumbled a little as he swung back the shutters. The yard was empty, and all the windows he could see were black. Winterfell slept. Hodor, he shouted down as loud as he could. Hodor would be asleep above the stables, but maybe if he yelled loud enough, he'd hear, or somebody would. Hodor, come fast! Osha, Mira, Jojen, anyone! Bran cupped his hands around his mouth. Hodor! When the door crashed open behind him, the man who stepped through was no one Bran knew. He wore a leather jerkin sewn with overlapping iron discs. He carried a dirk in one hand and an axe strapped to his back. What do you want? Bran demanded, afraid. This is my room. You get out of here. Theon Greyjoy followed him into the bedchamber. We're not here to harm you, Bran. Theon? Bran felt dizzy with relief. Did Robb send you? Is he here too? Robb's far away. He can't help you now. Help me? He was confused. Don't scare me, Theon. Theon went from a brother protecting Bran to someone his brother would protect him from. I understand Bran's confusion.
Without a doubt.
I'm Prince Theon now. We're both princes, Bran. Who would have dreamed it? But I've taken your castle, my prince. Winterfell? Bran shook his head. No, you couldn't. Leave us, Warlog. The man with the dirk withdrew. Theon seated himself on the bed. I sent 4 men over the walls with grappling claws and ropes. They opened a postern gate for the rest of us. My men are dealing with yours even now. I promised you Winterfell is mine. Bran did not understand. But your father's ward. And now you and your brother are my wards. As soon as the fighting's done, my men will be bringing the rest of your people together in the Great Hall. You and I are going to speak to them. You'll tell them how you've yielded Winterfell to me and command them to serve and obey their new lord as they did the old. I won't, said Bran. We'll fight you and throw you out. I never yielded. You can't make me say I did. Only I can make people say things. This is no game, Bran. So don't play the boy with me. I won't stand for it. The castle's mine, but these people are still yours. If the prince would keep them safe, you'd best do as he's told. He rose and went to the door. Someone will come dress you and carry you to the great hall. Think carefully on what you want to say. The waiting made Bran feel even more helpless than before. He sat in the window seat, staring out at dark towers and walls black as shadow. Once he thought he heard shouting beyond the guards' hall. It's something that might have been the clash of swords, but he did not have Summer's ears to hear, nor his nose to smell. Awake, I am still broken, but when I sleep, when I'm Summer, I can run and fight and hear and smell. He had expected that Hodor would come for him, or maybe one of the serving girls. When the door next opened, it was Maester Luwin, carrying a candle. Bran, he said, you know what has happened? You've been told? The skin was broken above his left eye, and blood ran down that side of his face. Theon came. He said Winterfell was his now. The maester set down the candle and wiped the blood off his cheek. They swam the moat, climbed the walls with hook and rope, came over wet and dripping, steel in hand. He sat on the chair by the door as fresh blood flowed. Alebelly was on the gate. They surprised him in the turret and killed him. Hayhead's wounded as well. I had time to send off 2 ravens before they burst in. The bird to White Harbor got away, but they brought down the other with an arrow. The maester stared at the rushes. Sir Roderick took too many of our men, but I'm to blame as much as he is. I never saw this danger. Jojen saw it, Bran thought. You better help me dress. Yes, that's so. In the heavy iron-bound chest at the foot of Bran's bed, the maester found small clothes, breeches, and tunic. You are the Stark in Winterfell and Robb's heir. You must look princely. Together they guard him as befit a lord. It's interesting that he says you are the Stark in Winterfell because it implies that he's aware of the there must always be a Stark in Winterfell kind of thing, right? It seems to allude to that.
Now, are you saying that he knows why a Stark must be on Winterfell?
I mean, he's studied the higher mysteries. Maybe he does. He may have also studied the Winterfell library.
This is true.
Theon wants me to yield the castle, Bran said as the maester was fastening the cloak with his favorite wolf's head clasp of silver and jet. There's no shame in that. A lord must protect his small folk. Cruel places breed cruel peoples, Bran. Remember that as you deal with these Iron Men. Your Lord Father did what he could to gentle Theon, but I fear it was too little and too late. The Iron Man who came for them was a squat, thick-bodied man with a coal-black beard that covered half his chest. He bore the boy easily enough, though he looked none too happy with the task. Rickon's bedchamber was a half turn down the steps. The 4-year-old was cranky at being woken. I want Mother, he said. I want her, and Shaggy Dog, too. Your mother is far away, my prince. Maester Luwin pulled a bedrobe over the child's head. But I'm here, and Bran. He took Rickon by the hand and led him out. Below they came on Mira and Jojen being herded from their room by a bald man whose spear was 3 feet taller than he was. When Jojen looked at Bran, his eyes were green pools full of sorrow. Other Iron Men had rousted the phrase. Your brother's lost his kingdom, little Walder told Bran. You're no prince now, just a hostage. Of course, it's the late little Walder who says something this stupid.
Yeah.
So are you, Jojen said, and me, and all of us. No one was talking to you, Frog Eater. One of the Iron Men went before them carrying a torch, but the rain had started again and soon drowned it out. As they hurried across the yard, they could hear the direwolves howling in the Godswood. I hope Summer wasn't hurt falling from the tree. We know he was because you felt the echo of his pain.
Right.
Now, what he really means is, was he harmed? Was he seriously harmed? Right? He knows that it was pain, but he's hoping there wasn't a serious injury.
Yes.
Theon Greyjoy was seated in the high seat of the Starks. He had taken off his cloak. Over a shirt of fine mail, he wore a black surcoat emblazoned with the golden kraken of his house. His hands rested on the wolves' heads carved at the ends of the wide stone arms. Theon's sitting in Robb's chair, Rickon said. Isn't it really Bran's chair? It certainly was Bran's chair the last time we saw it. Robb actually put Bran in the high seat to greet Theon, or Tyrion, rather.
Yeah.
Hush, Rickon. Bran could feel the menace around them, but his brother was too young. A few torches had been lit, and a fire kindled in the great hearth. Most of the hall remained in darkness. There was no place to sit, with the benches stacked against the walls, so the castle folk stood in small groups, not daring to speak. He saw old Nan, her toothless mouth opening and closing. Hayhead was carried in between two of the other guards, a blood-stained bandage wrapped about his bare chest. Poxy Tim wept inconsolably, and Beth Castle cried with fear. "What have we here?" Theon asked with a reeds and phrase. "These are Lady Catelyn's wards, both named Walder Frey," Maester Luwin explained. "And this is Jojen Reed and his sister Mira, son and daughter to Howland Reed of Greywater Watch, who came to renew their oaths of fealty to Winterfell." Interesting that he doesn't refer to Mira as the Lady of Greywater Watch, right? I think that George originally intended this story to have erased female inheritance equality. So Rhaenyra was 1 year older than her non-half brother, her brother Aegon at the time, right?
Right.
And so the idea was that that there had been a coup, and the Maesters had quietly instituted the patriarchy of male preference, and then George changed it to the male preference was there, but they erased the fact that females still inherited, right? Anyway, the point is that the Reeds were supposed to be one of the people that remembered Ashara Dane, and so they were supposed to be having female equality, and Mira was therefore the heir. I think that's my interpretation anyway.
Well, I mean, also the way it's worded might leave the door open that Mira is actually somebody else's daughter.
But what I meant was that this is kind of having the Maester change things so that Mira is no longer Lady Mira, right?
Right. Well, I was thinking that it might be a small nudge from George R. R. Martin to leave the door open, because there are the theories that Mira is John's twin, or Ashara Dane and somebody else's child, that she might have Stark blood. She has Stark appearance. They give a Stark type appearance in the first meeting of her. So, I mean, it just leaves the door open a little bit in my book. I'm not saying it's true.
Sure.
I'm just saying that.
Obviously, you know who I think Ashara Dane is, but I'm certainly aware that people think that the concept of Howland being the one telling the story.
Well, I mean, even if I don't believe in a theory, I have no problem.
We're certainly talking about the Maester conspiracy and the erasure of female equality, and so that see Triplet Figures episode 1 is what Lizzie is saying that we're sort of hinting at. Anyway.
Yeah, nice catch, Lizzie. All right, go ahead.
"Some might call that ill time," said Theon. "Though not for me. Here you are, and here you'll stay." He vacated the high seat. "Bring the prince here, Lauren." The black-bearded man dumped Bran onto the stone as if he were a sack of oats. People were still being driven into the great hall, prodded along with shouts and the butts of the spears. Gage and Osha arrived from the kitchens, spotted with flour from making the morning bread. Is that what the kids are calling it these days?
I'm assuming she has handprints on her too.
Mick and they dragged in cursing. Farland entered limping, struggling to support Paula. Her dress had been ripped in two. She held it up with a clenched fist and walked as if every step were agony. Septon Chael rushed to lend a hand, but one of the Iron Men knocked him to the floor. The last man marched through the doors was the prisoner Reek, whose stench preceded him, ripe and pungent. Bran felt his stomach twist at the smell of him. My stomach twists at the mention of him. We found this one locked in a tower cell, announced his escort, a beardless youth with ginger-colored hair and sodden clothing, doubtless one of those who'd swum the moat. He says they call him Reek. Can't think why, Theon said, smiling. Do you always smell so bad, or did you just finish fucking a pig? Haven't fucked no one since they took me, my lord. Hicks, my true name. I was in service to the bastard of the Dreadfort till the Starks give him an arrow in the back for a wedding gift. Theon found that amusing. Who did he marry? The widow of Hornwood, my lord. That crone? Is he blind? She has teats like empty wineskins, dry and withered. Theon thinks women are for one thing, and it's not political strategy.
This is true.
It wasn't her teats he wed her for, my lord. The Iron Man slammed shut the tall doors at the foot of the hall. From the high seat, Bran could see about 20 of them. He probably left some guards on the gates in the armory. Even so, it couldn't be more than 30. Theon raised his hands for quiet. You all know me. Aye, we know you for a sack of steaming dung, shouted Micken before the bald man drove the butt of his spear into his gut and smashed him across the face with the shaft. Smith stumbled to his knees and spat out a tooth. Micken, you be silent! Bran tried to sound stern and lordly the way Robb did when he made a command. His voice betrayed him and the words came out in a shrill squeak. Bran's a bit young for the voice betrayal of puberty, but we've all been there. Anyway,
Yeah.
listen to your little lordling, Micken, said Theon. He has more sense than you do. Good Lord protects his people, he reminded himself. I've yielded Winterfell to Theon. Louder, Bran, and call me Prince. He raised his voice. I have yielded Winterfell to Prince Theon. All of you should do as he commands you. Damned if I will, bellowed Micken. Theon ignored the outburst. My father has downed the ancient crown of salt and rock and declared himself king of the Iron Islands. He claims the North as well by right of conquest. You are all his subjects. Bugger that! Micken wiped the blood from his mouth. I serve the Starks, not some treasonous squid of ah! The butt of the spear smashed him face first into the stone floor. Smiths have strong arms and weak heads, observed Theon. But if the rest of you serve me as loyally as you served Ned Stark, you'll find me as generous a lord as you could want. On his hands and knees, Micken spat blood. Please don't, Bran wished at him, but the blacksmith shouted. If you think you can hold the North with this sorry lotta. The bald man drove the point of his spear into the back of Micken's neck. Steel slid through flesh and came out his throat in a welter of blood. A woman screamed and Mira wrapped her arms around Rickon. It's blood he drowned on, Bran thought numbly. His own blood. Who else has something to say? Asked Theon Greyjoy. Hodor, 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 shouted Hodor, eyes wide. Someone kindly shut that halfwit up. Two Iron Men began to beat Hodor with the butts of their spears. The stable boy dropped to the floor, trying to shield himself with his hands. I'll be as good a lord to you as Eddard Stark ever was. Theon raised his voice to be heard above the smack of wood on flesh. Betray me, though, and you'll wish you hadn't. Don't think the men you see here are the whole of my power. Torrhen Square and Deepwood Motte will soon be ours as well. And my uncle is sailing up the Salt Spear to seize Moat Cailin. If Robb Stark can stave off the Lannisters, he may reign as king of the Trident hereafter, but House Greyjoy holds the North now. Stark's lords will fight you, the man called out. That bloated pig at White Harbor, for one, and them Umbers and Karstarks, too. You'll need men. Free me and I'm yours. Theon weighed him a moment. You're cleverer than you smell, but I could not suffer the stench. Well, said Reek, I could wash some if I was free. A man of rare good sense, Theon smiled. Bend the knee. One of the Iron Men handed Reek a sword, and he laid it at Theon's feet and swore obedience to House Greyjoy and King Balon. Bran could not look. The Green Dream was coming true. A sworn sword who will betray the prince. Not quite a Kingsguard, but close.
Yeah.
My Lord Greyjoy! Osha stepped past Micken's body. I was brought here captive too. You were there the day I was taken. I thought you were a friend, Bran thought, hurt. So we discussed Osha and bigamy last episode. Osha Queen, Asha Queen.
Yep.
Oh, the names are too similar. Instead of having Arya's name upside down and changing the R to an S, we need to just switch the letters around to make it more different from Osha. Oh, maybe not. Anyway. I need fighters, Theon declared, not kitchen sluts. It was Robb Stark put me in the kitchens. For the best part of a year, I've been left to scour kettles, scrape grease, and warm the straw for this one. She threw a look at Gage. Aha, that's what the kids are calling it these days. I've had a belly full of it. Put a spear in my hand again. I got a spear for you right here, said the bald man who'd killed Micken. He grabbed his crotch, grinning. Osha drove her bony knee up between his legs. You keep that soft pink thing. Everyone knows it should be fat and pink, like Charles at Ice and FireCon. She wrested the spear from him and used the butt to knock him off his feet. I'll have me the wood and iron. The bald man writhed on the floor while the other reavers set up gales of laughter. Theon laughed with the rest. You'll do, he said. Keep the spear. Stick and find another. Now bend the knee and swear. When no one else rushed forward to pledge service, Charles was laughing. When no one else rushed forward to pledge service, they were dismissed with a warning to do their work and make no trouble. Hodor was given the task of bearing Bran back to his bed. His face was all ugly from the beating, his nose swollen and one eye closed. Hodor, he sobbed between cracked lips as he lifted Bran in huge strong arms and bloody hands and carried him back out into the rain. Fat pink mast, fat pink mast. Up next, Clash 47, Arya 9, Arya's third name.
Do we know if they posted any of the panels on Ice of FireCon?
Oh, I haven't checked their YouTube channel recently. I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't checked either. I was going to see if anybody in the comments knew if they
Or
put
the
it out.
Westeros Musicals channel would also be worth checking.
All right. I want to see Lizzie yelling "brotherfucker."
Anyway, any more thoughts?
No. Now, do we think Asha, from the very get-go of stepping forward to pledge to Theon, I have the video, everybody chanting that. I've been saving it for Charles.
Fat
Okay.
pig mast. Fat pig mast.
Was her intention from the
Yeah, I think
get-go
so.
to eventually betray Theon and help Bran?
I think she's definitely still Bran's friend.
Okay. Which we've said before is odd for somebody that was a wildling. For some reason, you've pointed it out, the wildlings have a lot of respect for Ned Stark.
Yes, they do.
A lot, which is odd because it's been the Kings of Winter, which is now turned into the Lords of Winterfell and Wardens of the North that have always thrown back wildlings.
Cozy agrees with us. The Osha was for Bran from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree with that also. She's one of my favorite secondary characters. I can't wait to see her in Winds. Hopefully, she doesn't die like she did in the show.
I think even in the far north, the Starks represent stability and strength, and they respect that at least. They may not want to be underneath the Starks in general. Although I think Osha on this side of the wall, she's
now
probably
my
happier
theory
there
is
than anywhere
that
else.
the Scargosi are the exact same way that Asha and some of the other wildlings, as far as the respect that they have for House Stark. And I think that will come into play when they come with Rickon to aid the North in whatever battle is being fought at that time, whether it's another battle against House Bolton or if it's preparing for the battle for the Dawn.
Yeah, there's honor even among wildlings in certain codes, and I think she would see Theon as a turncloak. So yeah, I tend to agree.
I agree. Well, also the wildlings, the spearwives that come down with Mance.
The smiley boy, as she calls him.
Yeah, well, don't they call him Theon Turncloak?
Yeah, but she calls him. She used to call him before he left. She used to call him that smiley boy Theon, that smiley boy Greyjoy.
Right. Well, I mean, the wildling spearwives are extremely pissed that he killed Bran and Rickon supposedly, and call him a kinslayer. So I mean, Asha has nothing to do with Theon. So, but yeah, that's it. Anything else?
Yeah, it's pretty short chapter, really.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Well, I mean, one of the most interesting things about this chapter is that you get to see what it's like from the animal's perspective to be skin changed, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as his skin changing goes with Summer, it seems to me that the conversation or the things that are said while in Summer tend to become more human as it goes along.
Yeah.
I think if you compare this skin change Summer event with the first one, and as they've gone along, there's been more and more of Bran in Summer to point things out, or just the way he describes things is more boy-like instead of the wolf. So I think as it goes along, we're going to see more and more Bran being almost completely in control of Summer by the end of it.
Makes sense. No, I agree with you. I mean, it actually kind of smoothly transitions from being, he's just a voice to the thoughts being, Bran remembering his climbing and so forth, right? It's kind of It's kind of going from being Summer's thoughts to being Bran's thoughts.
Well, I mean, even in this chapter, from the beginning of what he was saying to when he started saying Sentinel and talking, and then at the end of it, the climbing and all that kind of stuff. The this chapter, the experiences that Summer have get more and more Bran like by the time that he tries to climb the tree. So I mean, I honestly think there's going to be like almost all Bran in the Winds of Winter, if not the Dream of Spring.
Yeah. The next chapter is a little bit longer.
After 3,000 practice hours warging, Summer Bran can successfully mark the tree. Yeah, that's true.
Well, he's actually failing here later on, so
Yeah,
I mean,
that judging one.
To control that later.
Well, I mean, if he has difficulty after he leaves Winterfell, then maybe Winterfell was the catalyst or whatever to help Bran be in more control of Summer.
Well, isn't Malcolm Gladwell say it's 10,000 hours? Should need to be world class at something as a minimum.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
something like that.
All right. Well, that's it. Nice and short one today. It's Friday.
Yeah.
Again, happy birthday to Nettles. Another shout out to Lizzie for the
birthday to old new dude.
Yeah, tomorrow's my birthday. When I get to the new double wide in my little man, it's not a man pantry, it's a man laundry room, utility room. The banners that Lizzie got me for my birthday will actually be what I put behind me because they were a gift. I want them seen. I appreciate them a lot. So I'm actually going to use those as my backdrop to honor Lizzie for giving me the presents. But you good for Monday?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Monday will be Clash 47, Arya 9. Arya's third name. I love Arya chapters. I mean, granted, Jamie chapters have grown on me, and he's one of my favorite. I like to give everybody a hard time about how he's the princess promised, and Jamie's the best, and going to live all the way through this. I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking a lot just because it I think it's funny. But Arya chapters, I think, from start to finish, from book to now, have always been right there at the top as far as favorite chapters to read.
She's fun. The way she thinks everything's stupid and all this stuff. There's something about her. George really does kind of write them all in a different style. I've always been partial to Bran just because he seems to be where you see how the magic and the magical effects. But this one, other than the beginning, this one doesn't have a whole lot of that. But
I've always found Bran chapters.
Yes, Jamie is going to die. That's absolutely true.
No! I've always found Bran chapters to be a bit boring, for a lack of a better word.
No, I mean after the summer part, this one is a little of that, right? It's definitely not the standard Bran of where you're really learning about what's going on. But I'm most intrigued. The thing that I'm most curious about still is what's going on with the others, what's going on with the magic, and so forth. And so Bran is where you get the biggest clues to those, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, the humor and adventure that some of these characters go through keeps the attention, right? Yeah, it's really hard to look away from their chapters because they're so entertaining. And then we get to Bran's, and it's a little bit more of
we're back to the main story.
Yeah.
This is what's actually happening.
Yeah,
instead of all the politics.
It doesn't have the amount of humor or the amount of adventure that some of the other chapters are. So, like I said, for a lack of a better word,
I get it.
So, yeah. All right. Well, as we say on every Friday, we hope everybody has a good, safe, fun weekend. We appreciate everybody Charles, Lizzie,
and I agree with Charles that Jamie is going to die. In fact, I do wonder if honor and
Tomorrow's
glory
my
might be a
birthday,
reference
man.
to.
Give me a break.
I wonder if honor and
Jamie's
glory,
Azor
the
High.
horses. I wonder if the horses might actually be a reference to Lucky Man.
Jamie's Azor High. That's it.
Jamie's Lucky Man. Jamie's the character in the song Lucky Man.
But well, I mean, we appreciate everybody being here. Shotnell, Chris, I know Dave Zill's out there. I know James Martin's out there. Valencar, we appreciate you. You've been here almost right from the very beginning, so we definitely appreciate it. So everybody, take care this week and have a good weekend. I'm definitely going to have a good day tomorrow. I have a raspberry birthday cake. So, yay! All right, y'all have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.